Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, first and foremost, I have to mention this. They have put in the maintenance info that accessory quest is coming back. So apparently they have fixed it. We'll see what happens with that one. But just so you know, granted, I do think they should give us a compensation, and a decent one at that, but they're not entitled to. Not to mention the whole fake compensation thing that one group of players did that may have ruined it for us, so there's always that possibility as well. So it's really just don't get your hopes up, but at the same time, we definitely should get a compensation. We'll figure out anyways. But also this event's going to be one of the Christmas ones. Some of these events have been out of order because honestly, we should have gotten this before the previous Union event, which was that fire one we just finished. Thing is that with some events coming out of order and a few completely just out of nowhere because of the whole Haruhi thing mainly, but that's the thing. The event order is kind of, we're already not following DML, period, point blank. So that said, I'm more or less going over these but when I know they're confirmed, because there's still a chance that we can end up getting the Haruhi event like sometime in the middle of next month, for all we know. And there's a chance that a few more events could go out of order too. For all we know, we might end up getting the Labyrinth event much faster than normal. Who knows? But this is more of a rough guide, if that makes anything. So it's more as we go along, basically. But starting off, this is a raid event. You can indeed get help with it, so that's something to look forward to. And given the fact that we're about to get a good flood of some limited characters, I know Wind Soul's on her way, like Bao's on her way. Haruhi has been confirmed, we just don't know when. And then the creators of Haruhi could still say they just don't want to do it after all. But there's going to be quite a few limited characters, so free players, definitely try to farm up as many jewels as you can from this event. You can grant tickets. Please do so, because there's going to be a lot of stuff to pull for, period, point blank. It's even getting near the point of the next miracle ticket. It might even be out with this next maintenance. But that's the thing. When this Wild Hunt event pops up, my suggestion to you is to grind the ever-loving crap out of it for raid tickets. Even if you don't get magic jewels, you can still rack up a ton of plus weapons, plus Dolans. You can rack up gems, all of that. So I'm getting that out the way. Just do it as much as possible, because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up that you may or may not want. So keep that in mind. Also, this is a thunder element. Even though, honestly, looking at this banner, these weapons did look like Phantom at first. So don't be confused with that. But this is a thunder event. So breakout wind team for the best advantage. If you're using a water team, you probably want to use something else. Only if you're like super strong and already clearing pretty much ultimate catastrophes, maybe you can use a water and get away with it. It depends on the strength of your grid, really, but my suggestion to players is either just a breakout wind if they can, if not, avoid water. But also, we're going to get another Kamihime as well. We'll go over her because I've seen some of her kit is actually pretty good. And she's wind element too, so if you raise her up enough, you can use her in this event if you do have the space for her. So keep that in mind. But since it's a raid event, same typical strategy as recent stuff. I had to say that for a reason. But you go through the storyline, get standard materials to unlock expert, get expert materials to unlock Ragnarok. Ragnarok's going to drop all your devil souls. Expert's going to drop all your divine souls, along with standard. And I definitely had to say that because of how, like, when they did a reprint of a previous raid, it was a Cthulhu one. it was sloppily handled, so it had old raid mechanics with new raid rewards, if that makes sense. And it did turn away a lot of people from grinding it, but the irony in the whole thing is that it made it much, much easier to get raid tickets. Because they didn't change the drop rate on the raid tickets. So you're actually getting more raid tickets than you should have. And they all went to one gacha. So if there was any time to actually grind raid tickets for more magic jewels and stuff, that would have been it. But that's too late now. Oh, and that's another thing I forgot to mention too. It might even open up the opportunity of some raid events actually getting repeated, so we don't know that for sure. I wouldn't expect it, but if something does happen, there's another chance it could be that way. But anyways, even suggest what difficulty you should go around. Honestly, ignore, like, if you can access these pages, ignore this on every raid event, on every union battle event, because you can get help with that. Only on times when you're on your own should you really pay attention. It's more of a guideline if you can actually solo it, because there are missions for that. But other than that, you can get help on these events. Start the highest one you can and try to farm that. And if you really can reasonably clear or even do a decent amount of damage in Ragnarok, then you should be good on Expert by default. So, that said, you really should be doing both as needed, or just simply jump into other people's raids. I still know some people that are actually too weak to start their own Ragnarok, so they can indeed jump into somebody else's. And then, like I said, we're going to get Wild Hunter as Adolan. She's actually pretty good, so she may be worth considering for the Thunder people. And then we'll go over to SSR Weapon. But here's a strategy for this. So first and foremost, you are fighting Wild Hunt in all three. All three. So that makes it interesting. But her main thing is mainly trying to dish out damage. And she can indeed do that, so you have to be careful. Starting off with standard, her HP is 850,000. And she's got 2 burst nukes when her orbs are full. In normal mode, it's 3 times damage. So it's random. You can indeed see somebody take the whole brunt of the damage, so be very careful of that. The second one's a more dangerous one. Does damage to everybody and reduces their resistance. So that is going to be something you may need to get rid of, because it will just up her damage. Speaking of which, when her HP is half and she has full orbs, she will randomly hit you 5 times and buff her own lightning element attack power for 250 seconds. That's a little over 4 minutes. So you may want to remove that. Thankfully, it's just only going to happen once and only once. But that's our thing. It's mainly doing damage. Pretty much just doing damage. So be very wary of that one. And it's more or less the same in the next 2 fights, only she gets like an additional trigger. So here's the thing. When it comes to experts, her HP is shot up to 7,200,000. And her trigger, it says 4 to 5. But my guess is that it will pretty much be 5 hits, you should expect. But from what it's saying is that she gets more buffs out of it as well. To compensate, she'll only do it at 30% HP for both Expert and Ragnarok, in fact. But it's just the fact that she buffs herself even more, making it even more dangerous. So you may need somebody to remove buffs off an enemy. So keep that in mind. They're even suggesting some R rarity characters and SR rarity characters for here, like Ithaqua, Flora, Matt. They're pretty good. They're pretty good for this. Behemoth can also help you out too, just in case, because Now, this next trigger is hard to read because this is bad translation or something like that. But if I'm reading this correctly, in raging mode, she will hit somebody and it can do paralyze. So you definitely want some protection for that one. And it's going to be difficult at that point because you'll start seeing multiple Hime start losing turns because of it. If you can't clear it, up to 3 Hime can be you losing your turn. Well, up to 2 really. But yeah, that's something to really be careful about. So she will start doing paralysis. She will buff herself even more, just at a lower HP threshold. But her normal special moves are pretty much the same. Normal mode at full orbs, 3 times random damage, and raging is AoE damage, but gives you a lightning resistance down, and that can be pretty dangerous combined with the first trigger or even a second one. So definitely keep that resistance off of you. Now, also I forgot to mention she has 3 charge turn orbs for all of that, so it can really turn to 4 when done right. And the only difference between Ragnarok and Expert is her higher HP and higher attack power. In Ragnarok, she has 21 million. By comparison to, which I'm not sure if I did in previous videos, her HP on Ragnarok is comparable to the Ultimate Catastrophes. So keep that in mind. And then here's your typical reward list, basically. If you're just getting the SSR stuff, 50 Divine Souls, 55 Double Souls. But personally speaking, I would say to try at least get to 225 and 95. Because if you do 225 Divine and 95 Double, you'll get all the Magic Jewels. And it'll also get you all the Gacha tickets and the Dragonic Eye Shards at that point. I think you're only really getting Grails if you get the last remaining bit. But anyways, let's get into what these weapons do. And she's mainly the real interesting part about this Wild Hunt. So what's going to happen is, summoning her, she's going to give you a Thunder attribute boost on everybody, so that immediately lets her have a sub-slot for Thunder teams. And I heard it's kind of low, like maybe 10 or 20%, but it still helps. The big thing about her is the fact that when your HP is high, your attack power increases. Up to 40%, but it's in Vigor frame. Now, previous videos I said that these are special attack. That's not the case. I found that out. This is, in fact, Vigor. And Vigor can only go up to 100% from what I found out as well. So, say you're like me and you have a couple Vigor weapons on your best grid, then 2 of these add-ons would send you over the cap. So I would literally have 100% Vigor if I had pretty much Wild Hunt twice, as in a main and a friend, and then got 20% Vigor in Thunder weapons. So you have to be careful with that. If you have buffs, it counts towards it too, because keep in mind, buffs count towards some of these as well. Because some things are limited. I've covered it in other videos, but I'll say it again. Vigor is eventually limited. Exceed's eventually limited. Ascension, Stinger, Elaborate's eventually limited. And then on top of that too, I do believe Technical is limited, but I'm not sure if it's confirmed on DMM, but we don't have Technical yet, so keep that in mind. We only get it through buffs in a way, and only buff I remember is her doing that with Over Limit. But Wild Hunt's actually pretty good. I would at least keep her. Mainly because of the summon effect, but her stats aren't too bad either. It's almost 1900 in attack power, but it's like almost 700 in HP as well. Normally, people go for the ones that have 2000 attack, but quite frankly, Wild Hunt's good enough to be a sub-slot anyways. And if you do happen to need some more output, she's a main. Because remember, it's in Vigor. Just keep in mind you have to keep your HP high for Vigor, and if it hits half, you're not getting any effect. Now, her SSR weapon's a totally different story. If you need a Thunder Sword, then you may want to keep this. If not, then decide if you're really going to work towards a sword grid or anything like that. Because I will say this, there's a lot of changes that can happen later down the line, so you may or may not want to throw away any of the SSR weapons you get. But if you're really just aiming for nothing but FLB weapons, then you could easily get rid of this. If you do need a replacement for a sword grid, then go for it. But, anyways, this is only just a large assault, but it does have a lot of base attack power, so it may be worth it. It may be worth it. Now, if you do need them, there's 2 assault-based weapons that are among SR. There's a wind one, which is also a sword for some weird reason. I don't know why. But it's also assault for wind. And this is the weapon that's going to give us that free SR Kamihime as well. And then Thunder gets a staff. They call it a cane on here. And it's also assault. The only other thing is a Defender glaive, which they call special sword. Not really too worth it, if you ask me. Because, honestly, there's ways to get a lot of Defender stuff, even among SR, but still get a different skill with it. So, at this point in the game, I feel like you don't really need to go out your way to get Defender. I would just focus on assault-based weapons if you need them, and if you can get another skill that gives you Defender, go at it. We're going to get all the Guardians anyway, and I do believe there's a Defender double skill or even triple skill in a way. But there's a Defender weapon for each and every element for that from the Guardians, so you can really just go out your way for those. And they're all SSR as well. Other than that, you can get Grails. Although, I found that the Guardian fights will give you Grails too, so they're just extra. But anyways, same typical raid missions. Clear stuff 3 times in a day in order to get extra elixirs and seeds. If you want more raid gacha tickets, you gotta clear Expert, which is R and below. That's where characters like Flora and Bat can kick in. But if you want the Ragnarok clear, you gotta use Fire. I might be able to do it with my Fire team. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a shot. But that's the thing. You'll have to clear Ragnarok on your own with Fire in order to clear that mission. You have to clear Expert on your own, which is Kamihime. So those are the only 2 times you're on your own. Other than that, you can get help, and this is an easily grindable event. So Andromeda and Cassiopeia are the ones they recommend for you too, so keep that in mind. I can see why with Cassiopeia as well, because you can even put a sub slot on her to get Vivian's skill, so that way she's removing debuffs off of you, but taking buffs off of Wild Hunt. So keep that in mind. It's a very good strategy. And of course Andromeda if you don't have a healer. Very, very likely with Fire. But Andromeda if you don't have a healer and she could take either Cassiopeia or Vivian's skill. She can also revive people. It's up to you. But anyways, that's all for that. The last thing we're going to go over. And honestly, she's extremely cute. I do like what they did with Volos, because I honestly did have a fetish for animal girls, to be quite honest, but they made her look a lot cuter like this. And as far as I know, they made her kit pretty well for the Wind version. I just don't get how that's a sword, but whatever. Anyways, so typical stuff with her with SR burst kits, they just don't really get no special effect when they burst. Simple as that. Here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Her first ability is an AoE nuke that can always help out, especially in tower. Eventually we're going to be getting the 24 towers as well anyways, because we're done with the ones that have 15 floors. Her second ability, it says increased performance later down the line, so we'll double check what that is. But it says add energy drain to yourself and increase mode gauge reduction. So she's good with raging meters and can slip and get some of her HP back. That's pretty nice. I'm just not sure how that works considering one of her assist abilities. I'll have to double check that later on in the video. But this first this last skill, it says concentrate to increase attack damage maximum 1 time. So I'm not sure if it stacks or if it's just the next turn. But combined with this assist ability, that can actually be pretty good because it says general as normal attacks. Now, remember a previous event where we fought that owl called Stolas and she can put spread on herself? Well, this one has spread at all times, meaning doesn't matter how many enemies are on the screen, she's hitting them all. I do know that it won't change how much burst gauge she gets, so hitting 3 enemies is not going to give her 30, it's only going to give her 10. So she'll still have to combo in order to get more burst gauge, which only just helps her out even more, really. It's not too bad of a trade-off, to be quite honest. Now, it's not saying what it is for her drain, so I would probably have to test it out. If anybody else knows, you could probably put it in the comments or whatnot. But it says usage on the burst is integrated. So honestly, from what it's saying, it might even actually boost her burst attack. So it may be worth using that before a full burst. I would try it just to see. If you pay attention to her burst damage, you never know. Because with that boost, it can end up theoretically making her burst damage even higher. So if it does work, then by all means spam the crap out of it before you pull off a burst. But if not, then you can just spend 1 turn to just do a lot of damage. She will be very good for AoE clearing because of some of this stuff. So, like I said, she could easily be used in Tower. When Thunder Tower hits, she'll definitely have a very nice spot in it. And even if you don't have stronger than her, she's still pretty good. She's still pretty good. She's worth using. So she'll have a bit of crowd control and whatnot. Now, another thing I should mention too is the fact that when it comes to a lot of these event Kamihime that come from these raid events, if you can, I would try to go back and get past ones. Some of them are in the epic quests. You just have to start it in order to get them, apparently. And in Advent events, you can get raid gacha tickets in order to pull past one. So if you don't have them all, unlike me, of course, because I've been here for a while, but if you don't have them all, then there's your chance to get them. So I'm also saying this in case somehow somebody doesn't get her, but she's extremely easy to get. You should have her weapon by, I think, either 5 Divine Souls or 3 Devil Souls, so it's extraordinarily easy to get her. The only way you don't get her is if you absolutely do not do this event. But everybody should be doing this event either way, because you should at least try to get the free Kamihime. It's just more power to your arsenal. But, anyways, that's all for this. More of this is going to come soon, because of course I'm going to try and record videos of the new event. Wild Hunt's theme is actually pretty good, too. I do like it because I've heard it before from other YouTube channels and whatnot. Kama Scarlet's a very good one for that because he does post a lot of the event themes and whatnot. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this is definitely going to come soon. And also a little side note, which I'm showing right here. If you do have access to the wiki, you can actually check out what they're saying on the homepage. It's translated, as long as you use Google Translate, basically. But other than that, that's pretty much it, and just have fun with it. Last thing I should mention too is the fact that we should be getting the the Thunder Guardian with this next event. So that said, you're going to probably see a few raids of it as well. If you really want to beef up your Thunder teams, now's probably the chance because you'll have Thunder Guardian and this event. So there you go. In my case, I definitely want to because I do have a 100% on Dolan called Kieran. So, in fact, I'm still debating on if I'm going to use my Miracle Ticket on Thunder or not. I will pay for it. It's coming soon, so keep that in mind as well, guys. But anyways, like I said, more is going to come soon. That's all for now, and take care.